Hey guys, I'm back. I hope everybody's having a great weekend. Happy Saturday. I had a long night. I do that a lot. It's all right. I get on a roll and I just keep going and going and going and going and going, and I don't even realize what time it was, but it is. Anyway, I started reading Barack Obama's speech that he gave in Illinois yesterday, word for word. It's really, you know what, it's really weird because you can listen to him on television and he's a very slick talker. He talks very well. My father used to tell me, like, years ago when he was like running during his elections and stuff before he was elected, and he always complimented on how he talked and how he was such a good speaker. But you know, people with good speaking skills doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do what they say and be all slick about it and have, you know, impeccable speaking skills, but be able to run a country. Doesn't matter what color of skin you are. Anyway, that's why I feel he is a smooth talker, because I was listening to a little bit of it yesterday when he was on television. Anyway, so I decided that since I didn't get to watch the whole thing, and I know that the midterm elections are coming up, I really wanted to know what he was saying, and I really wanted to know what his message was going to be to the Democratic people, because they are going to listen to him. They are going to believe what he says, and this is going to move them to vote and everything. So basically the main function of his whole speech that I gathered was that he's trying to get all these young people to vote, because you know the demographic is there is going to be a ton of young people who will be voting or are eligible to vote, who need to go register to vote. There's a lot, and it could make a huge, huge impact on this country. Enormous impact on the country. Anyway, so I'm going to start off, I'm going to just this is probably going to take me a couple videos, because trust me, this thing was long and there was a lot in it. And I'm going to tell you, the lies, they were astounding to me. This man, I never really hated him. Like, I'm not really a person that's just going to, like, you know, hate you, like be so enraged and just wish you harm and just hate you. You know, and I was feeling this rage and hate last night when I was reading all this stuff that he said, because I'm telling you, it's a lot different to be hearing it on the television as opposed to reading the actual words that he's saying. Wow. I'm going to tell, it blew my mind, and I'm going to tell you. You'll find out why. You know, this portion I'm going to call the beginning of the end. The lies show the truth. And that is absolutely what happened. So anyway, basically he went to Illinois. The college was giving him an award, a Paul Douglas Award at that college in Illinois. And it's an ethics award. It's for ethics and understanding opposing viewpoints. That's what this award is all about. That's what it signifies. They're honoring him for his ethics and his ability to understand opposing viewpoints. It's like, Democrats do that? I don't think so. Not from what I've seen in the last 2 years. Not anymore. If they did in the past, they do not anymore. No. You'll see. Anyway. He had to apologize too, because they had invited him to come and speak at the commencements for the graduating class, and he declined. And then he had to do all these apologies and stuff. And then he talked about how he needed to go and have more time with his wife and his children. And then he talked about how the founding fathers were smart, and George Washington was the first president to not seek another term of his presidency, and how that developed in our country, where presidents are only allowed or supposed to serve for 2 terms. That was like the beginning of that, and how George Washington was smart and took time off and away from government and all that stuff, and that was the reason why he felt he needed to get away from government and hasn't been speaking and hasn't been around, because he was following the steps of George Washington and all of the good presidents from the past. And he said that Washington was essential to American democracy, that government of, for, and by the people. There should be no ruling class. There are only citizens through their elected and temporary representatives. Temporary. And determine our course and determine our character. That's how he explained to these people why, no, I'm not going to come and give a commencement speech at your college graduation. I have to be like the founding fathers and those before me who were very wise to step away from government and not be involved. Bunch of baloney marky bleh. Anyway. Then he goes, he's just basically there, really, to get this award and to try to convince all these college kids they need to vote. And the reasons why he tells them that they need to vote are some of the biggest bull crap I have read. I'm glad I didn't listen to the speech, because I don't think that I would have actually comprehended it as well as reading it. It really did make a difference, because you think about the words, you know what I mean? And when you're watching the television, it goes by so fast. Sometimes you really don't catch what he's actually saying. Anyway, so he was telling them about how this election is more important than any that he can ever remember. And then he talks about how, oh yeah, I told you about that before, and I know we've all said it before, but this time it's different. He said, and I quote, "This time I'm telling the truth." Was he lying before? Was it not as important before? I don't know. But this time he said he's telling the truth. This moment really is different. Believe me, I'm not lying. It really, really is different this time. The stakes are really higher. Duh. You think that we don't know that? So, you know, you had to like put it in there that this time you're telling the truth. Might mean that before he might have been lying. They could have just been okay for them to not show up. Like when you were elected, it was fine then or whatever, because, you know, you got elected. You got all the votes you needed and you became president. So if there was somebody who was sitting at home and didn't give a crap and they didn't vote, didn't matter, because you became president anyway. This time now, oh my God, a Republican was elected. Oh my God, things changed. Now it's the truth now. You better go out there, because it's the truth. It's different now. You think? The American people woke up, said, this is bullshit. We want better. We're done with that. We're trying this, and this is what we say we want. And they voted, and they did get what they wanted. And people are pissed. Anyway. He then goes into talking about all about history and blah 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 blah, and you know, throughout history and the Civil War and, you know, the Industrial Revolution and Civil War and leading up all to you know, that kind of stuff. And he writes, in response to the stain of slavery, segregation, and the reality of racial discrimination, the Civil Rights Movement, African Americans, women, people with disabilities, the LGBT community, all these people, to make claims to full and equal citizenship. Yeah. That did happen. So out of the response to the stain of slavery, segregation, and the reality of racial discrimination, the civil rights movement was born. We worked for African Americans, women, people with disabilities, the LGBT community, and all these people to make their claims for full and equal citizenship. I think they are, you know, it's weird because I read that and I'm like, they are citizens. They just needed the rights. They needed the rights, not to just become citizens. That's what you said. But they already were citizens. They just needed equal rights. And that was a good thing, and that's true. This next part that he points out is a damn lie. And you know who does this? The conservatives do this. Bunch of lying bullshit. This is what he says. And although discrimination remained a pernicious force in our society and continues to this day, how much discrimination do you know is going on right now in America? I mean, do we live in 1962? Are black people discriminated the same as they were in 1962 now? No. Did we go through the equal rights movement for the LGBT community to make sure they have rights? Yes. Is it different now than it was in the 80s? Yes. It's very different. We've been through all that. America is not a racial nation. America is not discriminating or against LGBT people. We are very accepting. We went through all that. You know, there's gonna be people who are like, look, my belief is that marriage should be between a man and a woman. That is just their belief. That is the foundation of who they are, their religious beliefs. You know, they have a right to feel that way if they want to. I don't agree with that, but I'm sure not going to ostracize them for having their values and their belief and what they think is right as a society. I mean, they know the difference between a person having equal rights and discriminating against someone because of it. There's a big difference, you know? I mean, listen, conservatives don't want to tell you, look, you're going to do what we say, how we want it. You know, the majority of us out here, I'm talking about the majority of conservatives in the United States of America, they really don't care. And they do agree that you have rights as a citizen. You can marry whoever you want to marry. You can be whoever you want to be. You know, you want to be you're a woman, you want to be a man, fine, go ahead. It doesn't necessarily mean that they agree with what you're doing. To me, I don't care. Everybody's just people. But you have to respect the other views of other people. Like, you know, some people hold to their religious values strongly. You know, and I had this conversation with my dad once before. Because, you know, to me, it's like, you know, and my dad was very religious and brought up in a very, very Catholic upbringing. And he was a religion teacher for like 35 years. I mean, and then he was the head of the youth ministry for the Archdiocese of Detroit. I mean, my dad worked just about his whole life in some religious capacity. I mean, he's been singing and playing music in church ever since I can remember. I remember being 5 years old playing a tambourine with him during church. Anyway, I'm just saying, you know, I had these conversations with my dad because he has friends who are gay. Very, very close friends. Some of them were like in his music band thing that he was in, where they did all their Christian music. It's gay, you know. I've had, and even in the same family, there was two people who were gay. My parents were so close with their whole family my whole life, and all growing up. And the son and the daughter of these people both were gay. Didn't care, even though we were Catholics. might not agree with it. My dad used to say, I don't agree with it, but I mean, it kind of goes along the same lines of, you know, you see your parents and they say, it's not, you know, you can live, it's wrong that you're going to live together. You need to be married first before you live together. See, now I'm like, okay, that's you and your beliefs. I have my own spiritual beliefs, but you can't judge me or judge other people in society that they're wrong just based upon what you believe. You have to understand that some people aren't going to believe what you believe, and that's okay. You have to respect the differences of those people too, because they don't feel that way. Doesn't make it wrong just because you think it's wrong. So just because you think it's wrong doesn't necessarily mean that the whole entire world needs to think it's wrong. You can think it's wrong over there in your house and pray and do whatever you want, but you know, you can't put that on other people. It's just not right to do that. Anyway, that's my opinion. Hey, you know, most conservatives feel that way too. They really do. And Democrats are crazy to think anything otherwise. There's fanatics out there, but listen, most are not fanatics. That's the truth. Anyway, so this thing that he said is basically explaining to me exactly what conservatives do and are. That's what I've seen. That's what I know. It's a truth. Anyway, he says, after they were talking about all the civil rights stuff and African Americans, women, and just people with disabilities and the LGBT community and all that, and we went all through that stuff, you know, with civil rights. He says, and although discrimination remained a pernicious force in our society and continues to this day, and although there are controversies about how best to ensure genuine equality and opportunity, genuine. What, before it's not genuine? So now we have to make it genuine? It is genuine. It was genuine. He says there's been at least rough agreement among the overwhelming majority of Americans that our country is strongest when everybody is treated fairly. Really. As if your people have been treating conservatives fairly for over the last 2 years. I don't think so. Hypocrisy. When people are judged on their merits and the content of their character and not the color of their skin or the way in which they worship God or their last names, and that consensus then extends beyond our borders and from the wreckage of World War II, we built a post-war web architecture, system of alliances, and institutions to underwrite freedom and oppose Soviet totalitarianism and to help poor countries develop. So weird to me. Conservatives care about all that stuff. Conservatives did a lot of that stuff too. Who were the ones who wanted to be socialists and communists and racist and all that? The Democrats did. Come on, people, open your eyes. He's explaining values that Republican conservatives have had for a very, very long time. And for them to think otherwise is total and utter bullshit. My bullshit meter's going off really loud in the background. The next thing he started talking about, and I realized Reagan, Ronald Reagan, is the one who did this. Watch how Mr. Obama tries to make it out like it's the Democrats. It really wasn't. It was Ronald Reagan, and he was a Republican in the 80s. I was there. I know. Anyway, he talks a lot about American leadership after the war. Then he starts talking about Ronald Reagan in the 1980s, but he doesn't say Ronald Reagan's name. Of course he doesn't. He said the Cold War was ended. Reagan. He said, we help to spread a commitment to certain values and principles, like the rule of law and human rights and democracy, and the notion of inherent dignity and worth of every individual. Ronald Reagan. Okay. See what I'm saying? Wasn't them. It was Reagan. Okay, then he shifts over and he starts talking about the dark history. Ooh. Everything he's going to say in here, the conservatives did it. He claims the Democrats did. It's a lie. It's a lie. He says, there's always been another darker aspect to America's story. There's a reason why progress hasn't been easy. Every 2 steps forward always seems to produce 1 step back. That may be true. Listen very carefully to this and ask yourself, as a conservative or a Democrat, if you feel that this fits into the description of who you are. Okay, he says. All right, now, you decide who you think he's talking about. Conservatives or Democrats? I'm serious. He said, each time we painstakingly pull ourselves closer to our founding ideals, that all of us are created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, the ideals that say every child should have opportunity, and every man and woman in this country who's willing to work hard should be able to find a job and support a family and pursue their small piece of the American dream. Our ideals that say we have a collective responsibility to care for the sick and the infirm, and we have a responsibility to conserve the amazing bounty, the natural resources of this country and of this planet for future generations. Each time we've gotten closer to the ideals, somebody, somewhere, has pushed back. Well, who in the hell do you think is pushing back now? Because I'm going to tell you, everything that I just wrote, founding fathers, working hard, getting a job, supporting your family, being responsible, our natural resources, coal and all that, and for all those other people to have their job. And then he's saying that every time that they get closer to this ideal that the Democrats are somehow claiming to be the way they are, which is total bullshit, because I see Republicans wanting this every single day, all day long. Come on, you can do it. Work hard. Get a job. Get off welfare. You know, America is great. Let's make it greater. You know, work for us. Work here. Work as an American. Be proud. This was crazy to me. Basically, every single thing he said here was about how conservatives feel and what they want. What, Obama? Did you just become a conservative for like 30 seconds when you said that snippet? Highly doubtful, but don't go be claiming this is the Democrats doing this. Conservatives feel this way. And they've been ostracized for it. Anyway, after he gets done explaining all that stuff about how conservatives are, he claims the Democrats do all that, and then the status quo pushes back. Sometimes backlash comes from people who are genuinely, if wrongfully, fearful of change. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you kidding me? We want people to go to work. We want them to take care of their family. We want American people to be healthy and have health care. We do not want to pay all this money for people who are not American citizens, while we have American citizens who are not being taken care of. You're so full of crap. Your eyes are, well, they're already brown, but man, they're turning browner, Barack Obama. I'm seriously on a humongous level. I'm going to repeat that again because, listen, seriously, the status quo pushes back. Sometimes the backlash comes from people who are genuinely, if wrongfully, fearful of change. More often, it's manufactured by the powerful and privileged who want to keep us divided, keep us angry, keep us cynical, because that helps them. Who is them? It helps them maintain the status quo and keep their power and keep their privilege. Who do you think he's freaking talking about? Because I'll tell you one thing. You know who's been keeping us divided? You know who's been keeping us angry? And you know who is actually very angry? And you know who's keeping us cynical? They ain't helping. Who is maintaining the status quo to keep their power and keep their privilege? Who? I'm asking because you know what? We all know what the answer is. Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, all of them. Barack Obama. You think for 1 second that we don't know what Hillary did with the Russians? Steele, Bruce Orr, his wife, Fusion, Steele, the spy. Oh my God, and on and on and on and on. Oh, we know what they did. Why do you think they did all that crap? They're the ones who want the power. They're the ones who want to keep us angry. They're the ones who want to keep us divided. They're the ones who bring up race every 5 minutes about when there's not even any race there. Everything's racial. You go over here, you're white. You have white privilege, own it. You go over here, you're black. You're a victim. These white people, they're bad to you. So you get, they need to feel shame because they're white privileged. I am so sick of that crap. It just makes me insane. Oh my God. It's total and utter crap. It really and truly is. And this is just part 1. And he got me extremely angry. Such freaking bullcrap. And as a matter of fact, aren't we capitalists? We're freaking capitalists. We're not communists. We're not socialists. We are capitalists. That's who we are. We are Americans. We're capitalists. He's telling these college kids that they're coming of age. He's telling these kids that they're coming of age during one of these moments that he just described. The one where more often it's manufactured by the powerful and the privileged who want to keep us divided, who maintain the status quo, keep their power. He's telling these kids they are coming of age during one of those moments where that is happening. And you know what? He is 100% correct. And you know who's doing it? The Democrats. I see it every single day. All day long. 24/7. 365. I am serious as a heart attack. And then this is what's been said on the news. Because it's actually, a really good point to make. Here's what he said. It did not start with Donald Trump. He's a symptom, not the cause of all that other shit. Anyway, all this stuff that he was talking about, all that division and keep power and keep us angry. Barack Obama says, it did not start with Donald Trump. He's a symptom, not the cause. Really. He's just capitalizing on resentments that politicians have been fanning for years. A fear and anger that's rooted in our past. But it's also born out of the enormous upheavals that have taken place in your brief lifetimes. So he tells these college students. It's amazing to me. Do you see the utter bullshit? He's saying all this stuff like Democrats are like that right now. I'm sorry to tell you, Mr. Barack Obama, and all you students that are out there, and all you people want to believe that bullshit. The Republicans, the conservatives, are the ones who feel the way that Obama is trying to make it out that the Democrats feel, and it is a flat-out lie. I know that there's Democrats, some, who do, you know, they have the same values and stuff as the conservatives do. But there's no way in hell that he can sit there and lie to try to convince these students to vote Democrat based upon how the Republicans are, based upon how conservatives feel today and what their values are and what's important to them. Because what he's saying is exactly what the conservatives feel. And I challenge anybody to prove me wrong on that. Liberals, if you're out there watching this, I'm serious. If you think for 1 second that conservatives are the ones that keep us divided and want to keep us angry and all this kind of crap, you're living on in some loony world somewhere, because it is absolutely a false statement. It is false. It's a lie. I'll scream it to the rooftops if I have to. I'm calling it out because I need to, because I have to, because I cannot stay silent anymore. I have to say something. When something bothers me this much, I need to get out there and do whatever I can to try to get people to understand and know the truth, because that is the truth. He's talking like conservatives, how they are. I know, because I am one. I know, because I was liberal. They've warped that word so much, it's not even a word anymore that anybody even recognizes. The Democrats are not liberals. They're just Democrats. They're just the left. I don't even want to use the word liberal anymore, because conservatives are a hell of a lot more liberal right now than Democrats are even thinking for a second that they're being. And that's the truth. Anyway. Onward to the next part. Part 2. Part 2. Coming soon. Bye, guys.